Hello everyone, this is Akal and I am a somatic therapist as well as a astrological counselor. If you'd like to find out a little bit about the work I do, my website's posted down below the video. Sorry, I'm going to be turning here, trying to see if I can get some good light. So what I wanted to talk about today is actually, somebody gave me they asked a question the other day, and the question was, because they were observing that so many of the techniques that deal with sexual transmutation are so, he said difficult. What I mean, he probably meant complex, and that is true. Many of them are quite complex. So what I want to do today is I want to present to you a very simplified version, because these techniques don't have to be complex, but they need to be practiced. The idea with sexual transmutation, just again, so we all have a clear idea of what I'm talking about, that is to convert one's identification with horny into basically being embodied, and that's the function. Now let me give you an example. So the basic example would be, let's say you become hungry. If you become hungry, like there's some people I know who get incredibly cranky. They get so angry when they're hungry because their personality is identified with like, oh my God, I'm starving to death. And they think like, oh, this is the end. Oh, my head looks nice and shiny now. So what ends up happening here is if somebody's identified with hunger, it gets to the point where they almost lose rational thought. And I think that to me is an issue. So myself, I'll give you a good example. I've practiced fasting for years. So when I'm fasting, the hunger definitely comes up, but it's not that painful because I've practiced it. Other words, I'm used to it. I'm accustomed to it. So this is very much like the horny feeling as well. So let me go ahead and paint a scenario, and I've used this scenario in other videos I've done. So if you watch my other videos, this may be a kind of a repeat. But this technique is actually, like I said, it's very simple. It'll do two different things. One is it's going to help you cultivate the pathways which sexual energy flows. And the other thing it's going to do, it's going to connect you to your body. And those two things are incredibly important. And I would actually say that the connection to the body, that sort of merger with the body, that's the fundamental purpose of yoga. That is the fundamental purpose of Tantra. That is the fundamental purpose of Qigong and Tai Chi and Yidan and every basically, I would say every mystical tradition that has a physical practice involved. So let's say you're at the grocery store. Let's say something nice walks by. Now that something nice that walks by triggers the horny feeling. Horny rises, and all of a sudden you're in it, right? So horny is very much like hunger. It's kind of like thirst. I would say it's the third loudest signal that we kind of deal with on an everyday basis. At least I know men deal with this on an everyday basis. So horny rises, we become overwhelmed. Men oftentimes want to seek release, which is often, I would say, a lot of like sexual, assaults and things like that. It's because men are overly identified with that horny feeling. They are in that sort of frenzied energy, and so they lose rational thought, and they lose empathy, and so that's the problem. So in this particular case, horny feeling arises, something nice walks by, you're in the cereal aisle of the grocery store. So what you do, and you got about 15 seconds to do this. In fact, you can probably do this in 10 seconds. It's really simple. First thing you want to do is you can connect to your body. So you want to tune into the body. You want to feel where in my body is horny. Where in my body am I feeling the horny sensation? It could be in your pubis, could be in your testicles, wherever in the genitalia, could be in your lower back. I felt the horny feeling before, like in my belly, I felt it in my chest. So it could be anywhere inside the body. So what you want to do is you want to connect to that feeling, then you want to inhale a deep breath. Fill up with air. Retain the breath. Then you want to pull what's called root lock or mula bandha. So you contract your anus, your perineum, your genitals, You pull in your belt line. Again, all this can be done in public and no one knows what you're doing. So you contract, root lock. You retain root lock. And then as you're contracting root lock more firmly, you begin to exhale. And then what you want to do is it's kind of like the energy starts to spread out from that part of the body, from your pelvic region, from the belt line area. It begins to spread out. It's kind of like a star. You know, you have 5 points to a star. It's a bit like it spreads out like a star. It goes to your head, it goes to your extremities, your feet and your hands. So you want to move your awareness outward from that center part of your body to your feet, your hands, your head. And you want to feel, and you may actually feel this, you may feel heat, you may feel tingling, you may feel a number of sensations, or you may feel nothing. But the point is that this practice, this sexual transmutation practice, if you do this multiple times a day, it will cultivate the pathways at which sexual energy flows. So when you do have intimate moments, sexual encounters, and you decide you want to have an orgasm or whatever it is you choose to do, then what you're going to notice is there's going to be a greater intensity in terms of the orgasms you experience. So the cultivation of these pathways, like I said, is essential if you're one of those individuals who want to have these more intense experiences. So the other thing that this does is it will help you reframe what you're looking at. And what I mean by this is it's essential to reframe what we're looking at, because I'll use the heterosexual perspective here, which is most women don't want to be perceived as objects. At least that's what they tell me. So because most women do not want to be perceived as objects, they want to be perceived as women. They want to be perceived as human beings. They want to be perceived as mothers, as daughters, as sisters, as aunts, etc. Being a sexual object gets old. And most women have dealt with this most of their lives. So by you know, essentially when we're like overly fixated on them as sexual beings, yeah, sometimes they may appreciate the compliment or something, but most of the time they don't want to hear it. So this helps you reframe them. It helps you see them as a human being and as a woman. And this could apply to men as well, although I know a lot of men who would actually like to be perceived as sexual objects. So maybe it's not totally appropriate for men, but nonetheless, it's beneficial for you to start seeing people as people, start seeing human beings as human beings, start seeing men as men and women as women. So the final thing that you need to do with this particular sexual transmutation technique, other than to repeat it, is once you've, like I said, you've moved your awareness out to your extremities, you inhale, exhale, and go about your day. So it's as simple as that. So hopefully you've enjoyed this video. I appreciate you tuning in. Take care.